Hey guys, it's Julian here, and I'm doing a Cinema 4D basic tutorial. So I'll be doing a tutorial about all the basics of Cinema 4D, and I'll show you the settings I used, the render settings I used, how to do some simple text and maybe some simple lighting effects too. So I'm using Cinema 4D R13. Most of the commands and tools are relatively the same in R12, but I do suggest you go download R13 if you don't yet have it, because for me it is worth it. There are a lot of tools and a lot of rendering kind of perks that you don't get in R12. So I've just opened up Cinema 4D. I haven't opened up any file or changed any settings. So whenever I open up any Cinema 4D file, no matter what it is, there's always some settings I change straight away. So there's these three icons up here which kind of look like the movie snaps when they start the shot. So the very left one renders your current scene, just a quick render to view what it is. So if I put down a cube here, just click on the cube button. Right now it looks just kind of plain, but if I click the render button, it renders it out, gives it all the shadows. So this is a quick thing to know. The middle one actually renders your whole picture out into a file where you can save it as a PNG or a TIFF or JPEG, whatever you like. And then the very last one is all your render settings. So when you open that screen up, when you just come into Photoshop, just the one with the little gear, just click on that, and it has your width and your height ratio, and I always change that straight away because 800 by 600 it's decent, but it's not quite as high quality as I like it to be. So I just change it to 1920, so 1920 by 1080, which is 1080 pixels. Make sure it's on pixels, and that gives a full HD, quite a large screen for you. So if you are doing any renders, it will look really good. You can just leave the resolution at the same. All these other settings we won't worry about for now. Then you can just click on save underneath it, and then click on alpha channel. I just click on this anyway, anything I'm doing, because I find I need it for anything I'm doing. There's only some cases that you don't need it. Alpha channel, basically, if I was to have a cube here or some sort of scene, maybe like a few cubes, and I was to render it, let's just pretend it's this render here. Alpha channel gets rid of that black automatically for you, so it saves it as a PNG, and then it just has this object here already cut out for you. So if you have a really complicated scene or some sort of text, it can save you a lot of time and hassle because you don't have to cut out the object. So those two settings I always put on straight away. Let's go back to the settings tab up here, and also there's another setting I put on, which you go to effect. Down here is a little bubble, the left one. Just click on that, and then ambient occlusion, the very top one. So you just click on that, and that's done. You don't need to change anything to that. Ambient occlusion, basically, it enhances all of your depth, shadows, and really increases the lighting for everything. So I'll quickly just make sort of an example for you. So I'll just create two cubes with kind of a gap in between each other. So if I quickly turn off ambient occlusion and do a quick render, it doesn't look realistic. It just looks drawn on. It just looks like shapes. It doesn't look real. But if I tick on ambient occlusion, you can see it takes a little longer to render, but look how much better. It gives a little bit of darker shadows in all the creases, gives it a bit more depth, and it just really makes the shadows stand out and look really, really good. So I'll just delete those quick example. So yeah, make sure you have ambient occlusion ticked on, as well as alpha channel ticked, and width and the height. So once you've done those settings and you're ready to start your project, let's say we'll just do some text just to start it off. So to make any text, you just click on MoGraph up the top toolbar here. You click on MoGraph, and then you scroll down here to the little green A. It says MoText. So just got to click on that, and then obviously it placed some text on the screen, already extruded, already 3D, ready to go. I will teach you how to make 2D logos or text in another episode, but for now we'll just go with the basic text that's already in the program. So up this top right hand corner, this is basically your layers. This is your physical items that are in it, and it presents them all on a big long list. So you can click on each one and then down below it is the settings for that item. So in object, which is the default selection or the settings that automatically go to when you click on object, it has all the main settings. So it has the depth here. The depth's at 20, so I would like to increase that a little bit. So you can just click on this kind of arrow, and if you click and hold down, it makes it intrude inwards or inverse, which goes into the minuses, or if you drag it up, it makes it extrude back. So let's say we'll do about 100, and if you find it a bit too tedious to kind of click that, you can just hover everything and just type 100. So now we have some text, and it's looking pretty good, it's pretty deep. So if we want to see is that the depth that we want, we can use these 4 little icons up here at the top right hand corner of our little viewport to kind of navigate our way around the text. So the very first one is just moving from side to side, up and down, and you just click and hold, and then you just unclick, and then you can move your mouse. The left one, you can hold up or down or left and right, and you just move your mouse from side to side to zoom in or out, or you can just use the scroll wheel on your mouse. The third one does the 3-dimensional view, and it's more of like a rotate tool. It's a very common tool, I use it all the time. And then the very right one shows up your different viewports of 2D angles. So your left one here is your 3D viewport, and you can still move that around and play with things in each one at the same time, which makes it really, really good if you're doing certain modeling things. So if you need to line up something really precise on this kind of side view, to click on one of these views, you can either click on that box that you clicked originally, or you can just press your middle scroll button and it automatically goes to that view. And then if I was to say duplicate this text, holding Control C and then pressing Control V to copy and paste, I could just move it a little bit back with this arrow tool here, and then I could get it exactly where I want it, which would take a little bit longer in this, and I might with the 3D view, and I might not get it exactly how I wanted. So I'll just delete that other one that I made, going back to my 3D viewport. Right now I've got my text. It looks pretty basic. There's nothing too snazzy about it. It has a big shadow going across it, so let's make this text look really good. So we'll click on our text, and we'll go back to our main object settings, and you just select this word that says text, and then just replace it with whatever word or phrase, anything you want. So I'm just going to type in royal here, and then just click away, and it automatically says royal up on your screen. And then font, there's this first bar here, and you just click on the bar. I have thousands of fonts, so it takes a little while to load for me, but you just click on the bar. It won't take as long to load as you, but it will open up a menu that would expand out, and then you simply click on the font that you want. So mine's loaded, and I have all these fonts here, and I can just click on what I want, like this one. It's an alright looking font, I guess. I'll just use this for the meantime. So I'll just click on the mode text to go back onto my settings. I have all these other settings too. So the height, if I drag that up, it increases the size of the text. Or you can go over to your tools up the top hand left here with all your different icons. There's 5 tools to the very left. This is your selection tool. I won't get much into that, but for now you just click on what you want to select and it selects it. This is the default tool, which is your move tool, so it selects the object and you can just be able to move it and all that. And you can move it around the screen using these arrows like that. This is your scale tool, so you can click either one of these points here to scale it. Obviously this is text, so the ratio of it is locked, so it doesn't matter what one, it won't warp the text, it will stay the same size. Then this fourth one is your rotate tool, and you just click and hold on one of these bars to rotate it whatever dimension you want. Or you can click on this outer ring and you can rotate it freehand, but I tend to use these rings because they're a lot more precise. And if you hold shift and you move one of the rings, or to control now, I know in R12 it's shift. It usually works for me, but yeah, just scroll that back. Yep, and then just line up my text so it's nice. so I get a good view of it. Click back on my text layer, and then we can go to caps. So you click on the little caps tab, which is to the right of your object tab. Sorry, and you'll see something here saying start and end, and then the word cap. So just click on the word cap, go down to fillet cap, and you can do it on both of the ends, start and end, and it creates this fillet around the text, like a little kind of outline. So it's quite big now, so you might want to scale it down a little bit. So you can just go to this radius here and select it, or you can use the tool I showed you before, where you just click and drag. So about 2 should be good for both of them, so I'll just make it 2. And that looks pretty good. It adds a little bit of kind of character to the text and just fillets the edge, makes it look pretty good. And they're the settings for our text. They're the pretty basic settings. If I wanted a texture on this, I can go down to create, which is the bottom left hand corner. There's the word create. I'll just click on that. Opens up this little drop up menu, and I can click new material. Once new material is open, it just automatically spawns a default material named matte, and you can double click on the word matte to change the name of it. It's going to say material. I actually spelled that wrong, but I don't care. Material. And I usually just turn off specular, because what specular does, it makes kind of like a shine at the front of the text or the color. Sorry, I got something in the back of my throat, and that's not usually what you want. So just untick that, click on color, and there's this kind of grey color here, so you just click on that, and then there's the color, all the colors here. So I'll just go to like a blue color, I guess, and then we have a blue, and there's all these other sorts of effects and settings we can change, but I'll just teach you reflection for now. So you just click on reflection, and then there's 2 ways we can go about this. We can simply just turn down the brightness of the reflection until looking at the sphere, looking what we think looks good, or we can just go to texture, and there's a little arrow here. Click on the arrow, and you can just go to Fresnel. Don't call it Frenzel, it's Fresnel. And Fresnel puts a gradient map on the texture, and it looks pretty good. So we'll just use that for now. So now we have a nice metallic sort of reflective blue material. And if we just select this material and we drag it onto the text, or you can drag it onto the layer here, and you just unclick, and then it applies that to what you selected. So you got your text here. Now I want some good lighting effects on this text. So there's 2 ways we can go about this. I'll link you to a Lightroom that I use. I kind of modeled it and shaped it off a few different other Lightrooms I used to use. It's kind of like this. It's just basically what works out best for me. So it's a few different Lightrooms combined into one. So, but before I show the Lightroom, I'll quickly show you, if you don't want to use the Lightroom, how you can make the lighting yourself. So with these top tools up here that we've been learning about, there's a bunch of these ones on the right hand side. And the very end one is a light bulb. So if you click on that light bulb, it spawns a light. And this light is just a generic light, and it beams out light in every single direction, 360 degrees. So no matter where you place it, it will cause shadows on your text. And I'll just quickly say this: if you're not viewing your material, or you can't see these shadows and your text simply looks like a wire mesh, that's because you haven't downloaded Body Paint. Body Paint is sort of a plugin built into Cinema 4D, which pre-renders all the textures and all the lighting to give you sort of a viewport of what you're actually doing. So go into help and check for updates and download Body Paint. So I'll click the middle scroll button now, just to open up these 4 ports, because I want to adjust my light. So I'll click on this top right one here, clicking my middle mouse button, the scroll out, and I'd like it to move it sort of on the diagonal view to the front of the text. I'll click back my scroll button, I'll click back on our original window, and just see if that looks good. It looks pretty good. And then I want to move the light up, so I'll just go to this window on the bottom right, use this green arrow and move it up above the text. And now that that's done, we might move it a little bit forward on this window, and then we're going to do it to the other side now. So we can simply just line up this right hand window, press Control C, Control V to duplicate it or copy and paste. We can use these arrows here on this top right viewport to simply move it to the other diagonal side to match up. And because it's also on the top, sorry, I'm getting a lot of Skype messages, I now have both my lights above and there's some of these shadows below, so I could simply get the light I dragged in, go into this bottom viewport which shows the frontal view, and drag it below the text instead of above. And doing this, creating both the opposite lights on each corner, creates really nice shadows and creates a bit of depth and looks pretty good, nice. So that's the text right there, and obviously it's got the reflective material on it, so it has some nice reflections. I've got the I'll have the ambient occlusion on, which is casting some nice shadows. And if I wanted to add some physical shadows to this light, you would simply click on the light, go to all these settings down here, click on shadow, click on the drop down bar and you do shadow map soft, and then it will actually trace a shadow, a physical shadow onto everything. So you could see on the left side of the R and the O it's casted a shadow, and if I was to put a plane below this, put the light going from the top looking down, it would have an outline of a shadow. So I don't want this in this situation, so I'll just press none. And that's one way you can do the lighting. There are some other simple effects, like if I was to click on my render settings on the third one, go to effect and then go to global illumination. This basically illuminates the whole text and it basically creates a 3D light around everything. As you can see, it takes a little while longer to render because obviously it has to render a lot of different light sources and a lot of different shadows, but global illumination basically just enhances the lights and the shadows. So there's not a big difference putting that on, but in some circumstances it does make a big difference. But if you're saying your text looks very dark, either just move your lights closer to your text or tick on global illumination. So that's that way, and the other way is can use a Lightroom. So I'll just delete these lights here, and then I'm going to go up to File, the top left hand corner, and go to Merge. I'm just going to click on Merge, and what Merge does, it merges two documents together instead of replacing one with another. So here's my Lightroom. So this could be in your desktop or whatever directory you downloaded it to. For me, it's in my graphics folder, so just click on GFX, templates, and then it's right there. I think it is. I think this is the right one. No, it's not actually. Okay. This is one of the other Lightrooms that I didn't want. So I just go to Merge, and then it's Lightroom Royal. So yeah, Lightroom Royal is the one you want. I'll just click on that, and you can see if I go in here, you won't have all these materials down here. These what I accidentally opened, and just use the scroll thing to scroll out. You can see there's a bunch of different panels around, and these are what you call softboxes or light filters, and they're basically panels which are emulating real lights to cast reflections. So they're not quite in the middle of the text, so I can just click on my lights, use this arrow just to kind of line it up in the middle of my text. And then if I was to zoom in my text now and press the quick render tool, as you can see it casts a lot of shadows and these white lights all over the text. Because of the softboxes, it is a little bit full on, and in some cases it's not what you want. But if I was to delete this from my text and click on this cube up here and hold down my click to bring up all of the different 3D objects, just go to sphere for example, just move that into the middle, and then I'll just put a reflective material on it. If it's a simple object, whoops, I put a few too many materials. If it's a simple object like this, those reflections can come in handy because they add depth to the material and it looks really good. So here, that obviously it looks like a ball, it looks like a sphere, it doesn't just look like a circle because of those reflections. And then you can move that in any direction you want, and you have all these nice reflections and shadows from that Lightroom. So that's basically the basics. So there's not much else I can teach you basic wise. There is a little bit more, and I might make another video. If you like this, learn some new things, definitely comment if you want another video, a more advanced video, and I can make a series out of it and go through harder and harder techniques in Photoshop, Cinema 4D, sorry, all the way up to modeling, advanced models, and some other things. So give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and it helped you out, and yeah, be sure to leave your opinion in the comments section. So I hope you enjoyed it, guys, and I will be releasing a Photoshop basics tutorial as well, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, thanks for watching, have a good day.